for George Floyd. And it's like, and then something else had happened, and I forgot because so much happens, but something else had happened, and I'm like, do y'all see what y'all are asking us to come and help y'all because you guys are tired of being bullied, but we're dealing with like
dying.
Death,
we're dying.
So it was just like, it's inconsiderate. And I made posts about it, and I was like, let's have a conversation. Like, y'all keep asking for us to help y'all. What do y'all want us to do? And not one Asian person responded.
Yo, peace and love, family. It's the Hood Psychologist. I'm back at it again with the legendary
Nia Queen, and this is the What's Good With You podcast. We are back for another episode, and we have a special guest and a friend of mine, founder of New Black History Makers, political activist, entrepreneur, journalist, Jasmine Gates.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I am
Thank you for the introduction.
I am so happy to have you here. And just for the people that don't know, me and Jasmine went to high school together.
Yeah.
Long time ago. But she is she's just like a warrior. Like, she's always on the front lines, you know, really putting in the work. She's not just, you know, a social media activist. Like, she does this in real life, okay? Because a lot of y'all be tweeting and reposting, but she really out there
in the
making
field.
Making a change. And I just wanted to say, like, I really admire you for that. And, you know, I look at you on social media and I'm just like, you know, you say the things that I'm afraid to say, but like, you're just like, no, I'm going with it. I'm going with it. Like, I'm for my people, so I got to do this. And I just really admire that about you. And also, Jasmine helped me start What's Good With You, because I didn't know anything about podcasting. And she had her podcast, and I was like, Jasmine, like, I really want to do podcasting. Like, I don't know where to go. She hooked me up with Keith. She's the reason why we here. She heard the first episode before everybody. Like, she was like, okay, Nia, you need to change this, this, and this. Make sure you do this.
Yeah,
like,
that's what's up. That's
Jasmine is the GOAT. Jasmine is the GOAT.
Thank
you. I'm so happy to have you here, and we're just gonna get right into it. We're gonna go straight into Hate to See It. And this week, the Vice President Kamala Harris said that America isn't a racist country. Man, it's just like, after what we just went through in 2020, it's like, how could you really say that? Like, you really sat up on TV and said that. Like, what is going on in your head? I don't understand. So, well, what are your guys' thoughts on that?
I think people are taking a more so watered down approach to what racism is, because we hear so much that you just think everything is racism. But if you really look at the definition of racism being a system, then how the hell could you say that America, the system of America, is not a problem? Like, are you crazy? Come on now. It's way too many systems that oppress people in this country. The whole country was founded off oppressing people. So if your foundation is a system that has been grown from the oppression of a people, then how could you not be living in how could it not be racist? That doesn't make sense.
No, I definitely agree. And she has to look at herself. Why was it so important for her to get into office in the first place? Why was it such a feat for her to get there? Why did she go to a HBCU? Why did she pledge? Because there weren't spaces that, accepted her as she was. So she went and found black spaces. So it's like, we went and we celebrated you. And I wasn't someone that was on her bandwagon, but I saw a lot of people that celebrated her and was just like, yeah, we have the first black female president, vice president, excuse me. And to go and say the U.S. is not racist, it's like, well, then why were we so excited that you got into office?
Exactly.
You speak the same tone that all the other
so
ones
let's go and grab all of that back. But I think it's just a slap in the face, because it's like, we want black people in office, we want black people in power, but then you go and you say things like that, and it's like, our ancestors, my God, like, that's my thing. Like, you really just dispelled the experiences that they went through. Like, you really just sat up there and said that the U.S., like, that's crazy to me.
Yeah, that's like
bullshit.
Really, yeah, and it's just like we it kind of takes away like of what she represents, because now I'm like, well, you not even gonna really be doing nothing for us, right? Because you think it ain't a racist country.
I'm
like,
real, that's why I don't really even like deal too much with politics, because it's all the same game. Like if you're not speaking towards the America's agenda, then they ain't gonna put no real authentic black person up in there. They're gonna put somebody that's gonna speak real lightly about situations and not really tell the whole truth and what's really going on. And to be a black person and to live the experience of the system of racism in this country, and then to go in front of the whole world and say, "Oh no, it's not racist. You just a puppet," if you ask me.
And just imagine what she's saying behind closed doors, right? Man. She was willing to put that on in front of the whole world, essentially. So imagine what's going on behind closed doors, and you have to look like. Federally, it's like, it's not even that, oh, your hands are tied. Like, no, you're willingly going there, like you said, and being a puppet. For you to, like, you didn't have to say that. You know, you could have kept that to yourself. But to go and to say that, it's like, oh, okay, we see where you are. And you haven't even been in your office for a year. Like, we literally have over 3 more years left with you.
Right, yeah.
And she said, America's not racist, but we have a history of racism.
Yeah, we have to address the
like, it's
history
still there.
It
ain't no history. It's still there.
Discrepancy in your own statement. Yeah. Like, if we're here because of our history.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, it ain't nothing just changed overnight when you got into office.
Right.
Like, we're still dealing with the same problems. Like, come on.
And they like, they do that. Like, the government does that. Like, they'll give us, like, a little bit, and they'll be like, oh, this black person is here, but no real change is happening, but we just put a black person here. Yeah. Like, so let's make them think that they actually have some type of power, when really she's saying stuff like that. She not even gonna help us. So it's are we getting so man. But yeah, I'm gonna end it on that note. But the reason why I chose that for Hate to See It is because in this episode we're going to be talking about, you know, being black in America, like that racial trauma that we go through sometimes on a daily basis, whether that's, you know, through social media or through real life experiences. It's a big part of, you know, African Americans, and one of the reasons why I'm such an advocate for mental health is because I know black people go through so much. It's like, you gotta take care of your mental health and emotional health, because I know that stuff is happening to you. I know you're seeing people getting killed on social media like almost every day. Like, I know people are, you know, having their little microaggressions at you at work and in the workplace. Like, it's never ending. So we gotta take care of ourselves. Yep. So, you know, racial trauma is just a big part of our history and what's happening now. And I really wanted Jasmine to be on this episode because she is an activist and she's not afraid to speak up. Too. I love to hear that, man, she's not afraid to speak up for what's right. And one thing that I really liked about Jasmine is, like, recently Mayor Aja Brown endorsed a Hispanic man for the mayoral race for Compton. And Jasmine had said, you know, she was a little disappointed because, you know, she thought she would endorse somebody black, you know, keep the power in, you know, the black community. And she faced a lot of backlash for that. And I was like, for real, y'all?
Got on your head?
Yeah. I mean, like, Jasmine, you could touch up a little bit more on that, but, like, how was it for you? Like, you're literally just standing up for your people.
Man, and it be your own people. That'd
be your own people.
Oh, man, that's what hurt the most.
Right.
That's what I'm like. But she handled it so well. She didn't back down from what she said. Yeah. And we need more people like that. Like, don't back down just because, you know, you face a little backlash here and there. People want to call you this, and this. Yeah. Just stand your ground. Yeah. And she does a really good job for that. I wanted to ask you first, like, what inspired, you know, you to create New Black History Makers and start this journey with activism?
Did you want me to touch on the mayor thing?
Yeah, talk about that real quick.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Go ahead, my bad.
So, yeah, if you are familiar with Compton, they are going through a major election right now. They voted April 20th, and now they're in the runoffs. The mayor's seat was open. District 2, the council person seat is open in District 3, treasurer is open, and then city clerk. So I went in and interviewed a lot of the candidates. I'm familiar with the work out there. We've been doing a lot of initiatives to get people to vote. And I know the mayor. So I don't follow her on Instagram. And because I know people that know her and I know her, people were reposting her endorsement, which was this Hispanic man that was running. And I saw it in I kept seeing it in people's stories, and I'm like, why is she posted pictures with this man? And I looked at it and I'm like, endorsing him. And I was like, okay. I kind of looked through the comments and I was like, wait, everybody is kind of like okay with this. And I was like, my first comment was like, this is interesting. And then I tagged her and I put up a post in my story and was like, I'm disappointed. One, because I'm a mover and shaker, especially in the city. And I was like, I have a right to express my disappointment in leaders that are of the generation above us. So, like I said, we're not like tight, but she knows me. If she sees me, she'll come and speak. I'll come and speak to her. But she was like, you're disrespectful. I'm not telling me that she's not racist, basically try to say that my claims are racist. We had kind of got into it back and forth on the post because Problem, the rapper, he commented saying like, hey, what can I do? Basically to like push this man. And I was like, well, you should probably do your research before you just willfully go and support him. And I was like, you have a huge platform, so like don't misrepresent that. So he never responded, but the mayor did. We had conversations in my DMs, and then we had conversations on the public posts and stuff. So she was pretty upset about it. There were black people that were like, why would you bash a black woman? And I'm like, but kind of like what you said, like I have footing to stand on. I've been out here doing work, and if one of my leaders is not doing something that they should be doing, then I have a problem with
Hold them accountable.
Yeah. So, and the issue was that she didn't. It's far beyond. She should have endorsed a black person. It was, you've been in office for 8 years. You had a responsibility to basically groom a younger black person or a black person for that job. That's a part of your responsibility as a leader. You didn't do that. So a lot of people were like, well, you just want her to go and endorse any black person. And I said, no, the work started 8 years ago when she got into office. She knew she wasn't going to be mayor forever. So you had a job to go and raise up the next generation.
That's facts.
The Latino vote, the Latinos, as we can see, the guy that she endorsed, he is running in the race right now, so they're going into the runoff. He was going to get the Latino vote regardless. He knew that. So for us to go and give up our support, especially as the mayor, it was like, wow. Like, we knew that the Latinos were going to go and vote for him, so now you have a group of people who may, because she's the mayor, going to go and vote for him, and it was just like, you took us out the race, essentially. So that was, my issue with that, but there was a lot of backlash.
You know what the problem is? Like, we exist in a reality where black people are the only people that get repercussions for supporting their own people.
That's crazy.
Like, we are the only.
I never understood that.
If a Hispanic promotes a Hispanic, that's all good. Nobody says anything. But time when you say, you a black person, you supposed to put another black young person on, it's a problem. It's you being racist and like, what are you? Are y'all?
Or they'd be like, oh, it's another person of color. No, they're not black.
They're
like, not
black. Be for your people. Just for once. Just be for your people for once.
And that's the thing I appreciate about like going to a HBCU. It's like I'm always trying to support other black people. Like, I mean, it's like you said, like, it's nothing against the dude. But it's just like, if you had that time to groom somebody else, why not do it? I'm sure there was plenty of young black people so excited when she first got elected, like, oh, can I work under you? Can I? I'm positive that there was somebody.
She said that there wasn't.
There was
said that
not
they
one.
all, because of her experience, that none of them wanted to go into office. And I'm like, you mean to tell me in the city of Compton, there was nobody that was able and willing and I'm like, come on, look at our generation. We ready to go. So, for real. So I was just like so disappointed because I'm like, people were like, well, you should have ran. And I'm like, no, I'm not a politician. I'm not going to sit there and give you what you need to hear. So I'm like, no, but there's someone qualified. The same way, like, we're not going to ask for Uncle John up the street to be a surgeon. Like, you have to have qualifications. But we still need black surgeons,
Exactly.
But, like, be qualified. And a lot of the conversation, which was so upsetting, was like, we have to say qualified black person, right? It's just not understood that black people can be qualified, right? Like, it was that's a conversation that I was having a lot with a lot of people, like, in the comments, and I had to check, like, every single black person. Like, are you meaning to say, like, you know, and even the Latinos came for me, but it was like, y'all, it wasn't even about y'all.
I'm cool with that. Like, I'm cool with that, because they can feel like, you know what, you going against my people, so I'm going to say, but when it's your own people, that's the part that just eats me alive.
So it was, you know, some people hit me, you know, and was like, okay, I understand and stuff, but it was just, some people just want to, you know, cause problems, and they don't want to understand you, because that doesn't make sense. If you think of our last names, why would I not push my brother? You know, like, why would I not do that?
Right.
And my thing was like, let's just let the Asians who have who they have, let the, you know, Latinos have who they have, let us have what we have, let the best man win, and then there's no beef. But when we take our footing out of the race and we put our support elsewhere, we lose, you know, the chance to win. So,
and I don't understand too, like, why are black people kind of forced to be like, oh, we love everybody, we support everybody,
because we don't have our own community.
Yeah, I'm like, why is that just with us? Like, even when the whole thing with the Stop the Asian Hate, and there was an article put out, like, how black people can support it. Why are y'all singing on this? Is it not majority white people in this country, but y'all telling us how we can support? What?
Exactly.
That didn't make no sense.
And it isn't even us doing it.
Right.
Like, we're not even the people. So it's like, and what was crazy to me, and I made a post about it while they were saying, like, black people need to support, you know, Asians, and then you had the trial of for George Floyd, and it's like, and then something else had happened, and I forgot, because so much happens, but something else had happened, and I'm like, do y'all see what y'all are asking us to come and help y'all because you guys are tired of being bullied, but we're dealing with, like,
dying. We're dying.
So it was just like, it's inconsiderate, and I made posts about it, and I was like, let's have a conversation. Like, y'all keep asking for us to help y'all. What do y'all want us to do? And not one Asian person responded at all.
Yeah, it's tough. I
think the world is just comfortable with seeing black people have nothing, to where it's like emerging itself into our own community and our own spaces. Like, even though we don't have a community to call our own, or a piece of land, a piece of property, anything to really call our own, it's even getting into our mental, to where we don't even want to advocate for ourselves.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Just because we're so used to not having nothing. It's like, hold on, this person is trying to get me to, you know, put my people in position and political powers. I'm uncomfortable with that. I'm not used to that in America, so I'm going to say whatever I got to say against it. It's just ridiculous, man.
Yeah, I have a good question about that, but I'm going to get to that later.
Okay.
I wanted to circle back to how you got your start into activism.
Okay. Well, I grew up in the church, so I'm a preacher's kid. I'm Kojic, if anyone, Church Out in Christ, if anyone's familiar with that. But I saw my grandparents and my parents, them lead, like, our community, our church community, basically, into, like, living a better life spiritually. And of course, it's a black church, right? So what I then saw was, like, it wasn't translating into the community. So it's, I mean, activism, and I use that word lightly, but I guess that's what it is. But it's, you know, just bringing people together. It's ministry in a way. You know, it's, for me, it's just like, I often say, I'm not telling black people or other people that are not black, like, that black people are dope, we're beautiful. Like, the shirt says, our brand is New Black History Makers. Their shirts say, I am a New Black History Maker, because I want, like, black people to know that we are dope, that we are beautiful, and I feel like we'll move differently, you know, if we can, if we know ourselves. Like, if you read know our shirt, right, like, even this, and there's a lot of other brands that have, like, dope slogans, but I'm like, you look in the mirror and you read your shirt, or I look at your shirt, it's like, whoa, like, you know, that's, you know, wow, that, like, I feel empowered now. So that's my work. Like,
I know,
but that's my that's it, where it's just like, I understand ministry from the point of spirituality, but I also understand that ministry has to exist in the form of, like, community too. And we will not be better unless we look at ourselves as better. Just like you said, like, why is it not okay for us to support ourselves? Like, I do a Compton's Black Exchange in Compton, of course, and it's only black vendors, and we've been doing it for, I think this is our 6th one that's coming up next month. So some guy drove up and he's like, what's going on here? He's a black guy, and we were like, you know, it's all black vendors, we're trying to sell them out and stuff. And he was like, well, I think you guys should have everybody here. And I'm like, Like,
but
you
why?
just heard black business owners are coming here to recycle their dollar.
Man.
And regardless, like, why are you looking at it as a negative thing, you know? But we don't see ourselves as worthy of getting the sole opportunity. We don't see ourselves as worthy of having a Black Wall Street, you know, of having Black hospitals, of having, you know, solely Black schools and stuff. We don't see ourselves as worthy. So it's like, you're looking at me like, why am I singling Black people out? But I'm looking at you like, why don't you see yourself as beautiful enough to be singled out, you know, to get a soul experience? So that's essentially like why I do that, to let people know, like, yo, Black is like, what's up? And it's not that anything else isn't, but it's just that we've been so conditioned to not believe that we're beautiful.
Right.
So it's like, I want y'all to like receive that through the work that I do.
Man. you preaching, man. You preaching. And I was looking up I was looking up racial trauma, and one of the coping skills for racial trauma is activism. And so I was like, wow, like I never thought of it as a coping skill. I just thought we gotta do this. But at the same time, it can, you know, give somebody peace of mind. Like, I know we ain't where we need to be, but at least I'm doing the work, you know? And I was wondering, do you ever get that feeling, like maybe like, not pride, I don't want to say pride, but like a sense of accomplishment, or like you feel good about what you do when you have organize these events, or when you talk about your brand? So
it's something that I've been growing on. So like, and this is something that I'm dealing with in real time. So Bruce's Beach, I had did that event, I'm sure y'all have heard about it, where the once Black owned spot that's in Manhattan Beach. I went up there for Breonna Taylor's birthday in June. Last June. So Bruce's Beach was not being talked about on social media before we went up there. So now they're trying, you know, they're getting reparations and all of that stuff back.
I heard about that.
And people hit me up about it all the time. Like, yo, you know, look what y'all did. And I'm like, I'm not a part of that work. I don't go and ask the other side for anything. But what I did go there for was to let Black people know, like, they owned that land back in the early 1900s. When you think of Black people in the 1900s, you think of, like, struggle, or like, you know, like we was getting spit on and we weren't able to sit down, but like they owned two beach resorts on the oceanfront in Manhattan Beach, a Black couple, for about 12 years. So I went there because it was Breonna Taylor's birthday and I wanted to celebrate that, and then I also wanted Black people to know, like, our history is not turmoil like all the time, you know. So we went up there. Were you at that event, or
no? I wasn't at that one.
So it was about 200 people that had showed up, and I had planned. I thought it was gonna be like 30, and the news came and everything, and that's the spark that got, you know, Bruce's Beach to be weird. You know, the news paying attention to it. And for a while, I would not say that, you know, because I was just like, I just went there. Everybody knew about it. But I'm like, if you go back and look, people just started hearing about Bruce's. So there's moments like that where I look at it and it's like, no, I did not go to get the family back their land. But I did want Black people to understand, like, our history is beautiful. Like, it's rich, you know, like, that's a dope thing. So there's that. And then even with the brand, like, the new Black History Makers is like such a gift. Like, I just call it like a God assignment, because I'm like, I've literally gotten to the point where I've been out and seen people like that I don't know with it on, you know. So it's like getting to that point where, I mean, it just has taken off. But I'm like honored, because I'm like, I want Black people to feel this,
right? You
know, I want Black people to feel empowered by it. So just seeing people buy it, the fact that I'm like almost booked every weekend selling merchandise, you know, like I'm constantly getting orders, you know, that to me is like, wow. And then of course the politics and stuff, like people asking me, like, you know, who do we vote for, you know, that live in Compton, or who should we vote for, or what do I do and stuff. It's just like, wow, like, okay, you know, y'all listening to me,
right?
You know, so there's a, you know, responsibility to keep being a voice. But then it also, like you said, you have to have those moments, and don't let no one make you feel like it's proudful or whatever. Like, you have to know, because if not, you're not going to be fueled to continue doing the work. So I'm like, because I know when that last election cycle hit, the people that hit me up, the people that were like, wow, the people that were in my DM, it was politicians from other cities reaching out to me. Wow. So me doing that, it's like, it empowers you. I had to like big up myself so that I can go back and continue to do like the work and do it better, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I'm glad that you feel some type of joy in your heart because you really be working. I'm like, when does Jasmine take a break? Like, she don't take breaks.
I think we should, as a people, we should be joyful for the people that's in like your positions.
Right,
like,
exactly.
Like, come on, like. You feel me? You got a Honda and some people driving the Benz. The Honda take a little bit less gas than the Benz do. Right. But if somebody pushing the Benz like you pushing with your movement, as a people, we got to gas that thing up.
Right,
like,
exactly.
You get all the praise, all the grass, all the recognition from me. Like, I love to see that type of work. But a lot of times we don't like to just give people their props or their credit when credit is due.
Right.
That's one thing that we also got to change as a people. Because if you got somebody out here that's really doing the work, that's really in the field, and you not the person that's in the field, at least put that person on. At least share that person's stuff. At least buy that person's merchandise or something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it's nothing wrong if you're not the person that's on the front lines, but let's pour into the people that are. Yeah. Let's support their businesses. Let's donate to their causes because like even last year when all the protests were going on. I'm not gonna lie, I was too scared to go out there because I was just like, too many people and just like I just had too much anxiety that I couldn't be out there. But it's like if somebody needs something, y'all need some water or something, like okay, I'll give y'all some money, like whatever it is. So if you can't be on the front lines, that's okay. We're not pushing y'all to do what y'all not comfortable with doing, but let's contribute to the people that are.
And I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
What's important and what I will not do, because I do criticize a lot, and what I did not do last year was criticize black people on how they responded to what was going on. Because I went through an emotional just dip. Like, even during the Breonna Taylor event, I literally was on the phone with my friend, and she's like, how many people are going to be there? And I'm like, 30, girl. Like, just come out, because people were worried about COVID. So I get out there. The news is out there. It's getting to about 200 people are there, and I'm like, whoa, and I literally saw one of my friends and like broke down in her arms, and I was like, what made me think I could do this? That I could come and have this event for Breonna Taylor, who has passed away, and looking at all these women sitting here and being like, it could have been any one of us. And I was going after George Floyd, because it was a few days after George Floyd that we went out there. I went through, I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't doing anything, and that was the moment where I was like, I'm not criticizing black people on how they respond. I didn't go to not one protest. That's not in me. That's not my work. I'm not going to go and yell in the streets. Like, you will see me, like, shaking stuff up, but that's not, what I do. And no shade to anybody that does that.
Yeah, right.
But I was just like, I think we as black people also have to, like, say if you didn't go to a protest, that don't mean you less black. That doesn't mean you not feeling it. Because some emotionally, we may not be able to go and do that. Like people that ran for Ahmaud Arbery, I'm like, I would have broke down crying on my jog. I'm not going out there running.
Exactly.
So I really took that. Like, I'm not criticizing black people for how they respond. Now on you want to say something like Kamala, that I will criticize you for that. But how you deal with your emotional trauma, I refuse to do that.
Right. And that's a good segue into my next question, which is about, social media and all the trauma that we see on there. Do you feel like that desensitizes us to it? Or is it like just too traumatizing to see it over and over and over again? Like, what has been your experience, seeing all these, murders and shootings on social media?
I think you have to use your own intelligence. I think a lot of times people don't learn themselves. So I know my limits. I know what I can see and what I can't see. So like with Micaiah, one of the most recent murders, that one I did watch. One, because like I've been in education and kids are my heart. Yeah. So I watched that because I wanted to see like what happened. The one... It depends, and it depends on what mood I'm in, if I watch or if I won't watch. But I think we have to pay attention to that of ourselves. I think they should still be posted because there's a lot of people who are still sitting on their hands and saying like, oh no, well they should have did something wrong. Like you need to see that there was nothing done wrong. You need to see that they are blatantly just killing people that look like us.
Right.
I don't think it because if you look at that and over and over again and you become desensitized, it's like, okay, you need to go see a therapist.
Right. Yeah.
Because even if you talk to police officers or people that deal with death often, they will tell you they see it every day, but they still are not used to it.
Right. Yeah.
So if you're becoming desensitized to black death, that's a problem. And that's something that you have to go and get checked out. But I think they should still post it because what happens is you won't see it. And what I've seen in the younger generation that's like even younger than us, when I was in education, they're saying like it's not that bad. You know, like black people are doing a lot. Like, you know, and it's getting to this point because they were able to see all of last year and they were at home.
Right.
That they're starting to wake up a little bit. Like some of my students have reached out to me. They'll call me and stuff. But they will say, like, it's not that bad. When it comes to slavery, they're like, slavery, what? Like, you know, that's like they're basically thinking negatively of the slaves. You know, like that's where it's getting to. Like it's really turning a corner with them. So I'm like, post it, talk about it. If you don't want to, if it does something to you, if it's triggering to you, you be responsible enough not to watch it. You know, nothing on, like you may see the first 2 seconds before you're like, oh, okay, I don't want to watch this. Yeah. But you can flip through anything, or you can put your phone down.
Right.
You know,
you don't have to be on Instagram. Yeah. You don't have to be on social media. But
there are, because we're still going through it, there's a need for people to still see it.
Right, yeah. It does bring an awareness to people who do think, oh, it's not that bad. Like, no, it is that bad. Right. It is that bad. And just my experience, and we kind of talked about this in our first episode when we were talking about 2020 trauma. Yeah. And I was like, that week after, you know, George Floyd was killed and, you know, his video went viral, like I had to delete Instagram from my phone because it was all, you know, I can't breathe. And it's just like, my heart was breaking, literally. Yeah. My heart was breaking. Like I would literally just start crying at my phone, and it's just like I can't look at this every single day. I can't. Yeah, I can't. And then also too, like I'm a therapist, so I got to listen to these kids' sob stories. Then I'm looking at this on like I can't handle both of those, and I go to therapy still, but I still can't. I'm still human at the end of the day. Like I can't handle it. So sometimes. Well, I would say majority of the time I don't watch the videos because I'm an empath naturally. So when I see that, I'm just like, my heart is breaking. My heart is really breaking. And like you said, like when you had the event at Bruce's Beach and you were looking at the women, like that could have been any of us. That's what I see in those videos. Like I see my brother, I see my cousin. Like I can't watch it. Like I really can't watch it. And yeah, like you said, you gotta know yourself and know when to turn it off. Yeah, you gotta know when to turn it off.
I think that's important to know yourself, but I do think it's important for it to be posted because it's just a reminder of it ain't changed, ain't nothing changed, ain't nothing different. We're still battling the same system that does not value the life of black people, and so if we don't get to see that. If we don't get the visualization of, some people are visual learners, right? And people can just read something and learn. But, if you can actually just see what's happening, there's no real debate. Like, there's no real controversy. It's like, it's right there in your face.
Right. And that was a thing that happened with the whole, like, George Floyd trial. It's like, he's really on trial, but we know he did it. We seen it. Yeah. We seen the video, and he's really on trial, for something we know he's guilty of.
Right. The whole world seen that.
Right. We all saw it. So, I mean, that just goes to, like, in that same day, he gets convicted, then Ma'Khia Bryant gets killed.
And then you get the vice president saying we don't exist in a racist space.
Yeah, like
come on,
it's insensitive to say that. Man. Yeah, it's insensitive, crazy. And it's like I watched when they read the verdict, and I was shocked because I thought he was going to get off. I'm just so used to cops not getting, but at the same time, it's like. We got to remember that it's a system. It's not just this one man.
Exactly.
Exactly. So I did sigh for a second, and then 2 seconds later, I'm sad again because social media. Social media. So it's just interesting how social media has become like the news for us, for our generation.
And I didn't watch the trial at all. So when I go to the gym Monday through Friday, so. I mean, if it was on a screen there, that's when I would see it. But that's one thing where I was like, I'm about to watch America be America.
Right.
Yeah. And even though he got whatever, the verdict was, America was still being America during the whole trial. From the posts that I saw and stuff and the people saying, things or whatever, it was just and I wasn't, even when the verdict came out, I think I was on live or something and people were like, the verdict is about to come out. And I was like, I'm going to get off and come back on. And I was like, It's crazy that we literally had to wait on the edge of our seats for almost a year.
Then celebrate it.
Yeah. And then for the Micaiah Bryant thing to happen like in the same day, it was just like, because this is America. And
literally 15 minutes after.
Yeah, it wasn't even, and people were up and, excited about it. And I'm like, when you do the work, there is none, because like, even with me, I've been involved with Manhattan Beach, with Bruce's Beach, because they had a task force. After we went down there, they created a task force, and they were trying to issue an apology, and they were trying to get more art in the city to commemorate the Bruces. The citizens down there took out an ad in the newspaper to basically say that they didn't want that. They didn't want the apology. They didn't want to talk about it. So I'm sitting in city council meetings and task force meetings with them. I'm dealing with the politics of Compton and my disappointment with the mayor. And then you have what's going on like in the rest of the world, right? And then I have my own life. So it's like, at what point in time I'm dealing with all these things, would I be excited for this man that's supposed to be in jail,
right?
Getting his verdict of being guilty? So I'm like, when you're doing the work, you realize like, and then in the city of Compton, the death rate out there is skyrocketing for some reason. Like, the city is hot, and I think at the beginning of March, I'm driving down like a few blocks from my house, and there's, tape, and you're in front of one of the persons. He's like a brother to me. He's running for city council. In front of his water store, they shot a body right there. So it's like, you're dealing with all of this, right? With our issues in the black community, with what white people do to us, and then what you have politically, and then the police. And you want me to be excited for this man that's a cold-blooded murderer getting that charge, and it's like, I don't have any excitement for that, topic.
The work is not done,
right? Because then I have to go back and go talk to these white people, right? And then we're in a runoff for Compton, so now I have to do more interviews because they're voting June 1st. And then how do we figure out how to get the murders that are happening in Compton to rectify? And talking to the dudes in the hood, you gotta like do a lot of work to do that. There's a lot of research that goes into that, because they're not gonna just listen to anybody.
Right.
So it's like all of that, and then George Floyd, and then 15 minutes later Micaiah, and it's like, okay, we right back where we were. So it's like, room for excitement, I don't have that.
Right. Yeah. Tawan gave me a really good question to ask you, and it said, are black people too widespread in our fight for equality? Should we all be unified? And I really wanted to know your view on that.
Yes, we are. And not even in our own fight. We fight for everything else. And this is this is going to be an unpopular belief, but we as black women have it the worst. And I'll say, like, the way that we process things. So yes, we know that we are capable of fighting fights, and we know that we can go in and talk our talk or whatever, but we for some reason want to go fight everybody else's fight.
That's right.
We want to go fight for the LGBTQ. We want to go fight for the Asians. We want to go fight for the DREAM Act. We want to go fight for whatever else. But then it leaves us spread thin when we're fighting for ourselves. And that is what I have seen. Like, literally, when I made the post about what do you want black people to do for Asians, white lady had responded to me and was like, well, my Asian friends have said that black women have been the most responsive to whatever it is. And she was like, they've been calling, and doing all that. And I'm like, exactly, because that's what black women do. Man, so for me, people will, right. So for me, people will be like, don't be silent or whatever. And I don't want to say very silent. I believe that all people should have basic human rights. Everyone should be protected. Everyone should have a right to safety. But I'm not going to go advocate. I'm not going to go march. I'm not going to go use New Black History Makers. We ain't doing New Black History Makers meets AAPI. No. I have to be solely about my people. Because no one else is going to be solely about us. And then when we need you to step up as other races, y'all don't step up. So I think we do spread ourselves thin through other, like other fights and stuff. And like I said, it may be unpopular, but we as black women, it's just like a catch-22. Like, we're good at it, and we want to go and be great at it, but you have to realize it's taking you away from your own fight. Like it's
Right.
if everyone else is asking you to cook, how are you going to have time to cook for yourself, for your household?
Man,
you know,
say that.
And that's kind of like what's
Say
happening
that.
with us.
And that's so important because, like, I have gotten into debates with my family members about, like, the whole Stop Asian Hate, and I'm just like, y'all, we gotta fight for us first.
Yeah.
Before we can help anybody else.
Right.
Just like they say when you're on the plane, put your mask on first, then put your kid's mask on. Because you can't save the other person if you're dead.
Right.
Literally, if you're dead, you can't save the other person.
Yeah.
So it's not. I don't like when people say, like, when you advocate for black people and they be like, oh, that's racist. How is it racist?
That's bullshit.
How is it racist? Please let me know.
Yeah.
Somebody please inform me. How is that racist that I'm trying to help my people who could barely get above water?
So I was in my undergrad studies in Kansas, in the pure white area of Kansas, like North Newton, Kansas, with nothing out there but white folks and grass. I was in class, and this white boy says, you know what? Because we were talking a lot about, you know, racial problems and equality at our convocations, you know, when all the students meet. And he was like, these conversations are cool. He stood up in the middle of class, said, these conversations are cool, but, like, it's fatiguing to me. Like, I'm getting tired of talking about this over and over. So it's like, I was like, oh, you know, because it's like, look.
Wow,
look,
boy.
Exactly, boy, white boy. Okay, but look, so this is a problem, right? As soon as another agenda that comes up on the table that needs to get pushed, you know, as soon as another problem arises, we automatically clinch onto that because people are getting tired of talking about the black people struggle, But this is the struggle that we need to be talking about because this is the only struggle that really results in death. Our people die as a result of our struggle, right? Our people are get the worst oppression that has ever existed in the world because of our struggles, right? But as soon as another agenda gets pushed, as soon as another problem arises, Asian hate, the whole world talks about it. And let's just put black people on pause for a second and let's focus on this and let's do something about it. And it's as soon
then
as
there's a bill for it.
As soon as
for 1 year, y'all
year.
have been experiencing this, and now there's a bill passed that we can't,
Crazy.
you know, have hate crimes against Asians.
Crazy.
But the anti-lynching bill still has not been
crazy.
passed.
It's
Still has
crazy
not been
talk.
passed. How long ago was Emmett Till? Over 50 years ago.
Right.
What?
It's crazy.
Like, man, I'm sorry. I'm getting all hyped up. Let me get back to my questions. Let me get back to my questions. My last question for you is, how do you self-care? Like, how do you cope with all this, you know, backlash, but also just being burnt out from working all the time and being on the front lines all the time? Like, what do you do for you?
Well, pre-COVID, I'm like a world traveler, so I will hop on a plane quick and go somewhere. That slowed down because of COVID, but I'm hoping this summer to get it back, and I will essentially leave for about like 2 months.
Wow.
And be gone. When I was working in education, working in education, that is tough, and I'm glad that I got out of that. I'm tutoring now, but not in a classroom, because I only wanted to work in the hood, and I felt like if I have a great thing to offer, why not give it to the hood?
Right.
Like, why would I go into where people have resources? So,
Yeah.
and I didn't go. I mean, I went to school in Cerritos, so
Right, yeah.
I didn't come from that. So I had to learn that space as well. But I would look at the kids, and you know, I'm teaching 7th graders, 8th graders, and they're at 5th grade, 4th grade level, math wise, reading wise, you know, even lower than that. So I'm looking at them, and I would have days of feeling hopeless, like, how are you even going to compete with the kids that are going to school, you know, like in the beach areas or, you know, the white areas or whatever. So I had to get a break. So I would literally leave, like, if not the week school ended, and come back maybe like the day before school started. I would just leave like that and go. So go travel in a different country. So that now, like during the pandemic, what I had to do is going on drives. So since we couldn't travel, I would just like literally go from Manhattan Beach and drive up the coast through to San Pedro. And I would either like go get some cheesecake or something, but just do
right.
that. There's a lot of different like spots, like scenic spots where you can just chill. Or I think it's called Mulholland Drive. I would go up to Hollywood, just make that drive out there and just drive up in the hills. And you can stop places, but since we were stuck, I was like, you don't have to be stuck in the house, so you can go out and do something. So that's something. You know, I do go to church, of course, so I'm like a firm believer in God. That's a piece for me. And then, you know, I'll take a rest day. Like I'm not afraid of that. I'll take a rest day. I mean, I work for myself essentially, so I can do that. I just have to pick up, you know, more the next day, but you know, the following weeks. But that's getting on a plane like that's I missed it. I think the last time I was on a plane was a few months ago. But at one point in time, I was leaving a lot. If I wasn't going out of the country, I was going to a different state or something. So being on a plane, like that's my peace, my serenity, all of that. But that, and then like I said, just driving around, or sometimes I'll go and get something, you know, just treat myself, you know, like especially during the pandemic, because there wasn't a lot that we can do,
right?
Or I'll do a shopping day, you know, where I'm just like, I'm about to just go out here and, you know, do whatever. But yeah, those are my little pieces of just like solitude, and I love being by myself, because I'm around people all the time, so I enjoy like just my time with myself. And at a view, I'll be there for hours. So, like,
yeah, that's good that you take that time out for yourself. And just like for people listening, like if you're black, like we're gonna have racial trauma, so you gotta take care of yourself. Like if it's not through mental health, like go to church. She has, you know, her spirituality that keeps her grounded and rooted. You know, some people are into, you know, more of the spiritual practices and all that. Whatever it is that you do, just make sure to take care of yourself, because the fight is never really gonna be over for us. Yeah. And we gonna see it, whether it's on social media or whether it's in real life. Like it's inevitable. Like we can't escape it all the time. But if you can take a couple hours just to do that, like that's gonna help you. Like that helps you cope with the racial trauma. And I'm just so glad that you came. We had a great conversation. And like there was so many things that I wanted to talk about, but I was like, you know what, let me keep it together. But I really appreciate you. I want you to talk about where can people find you on Instagram and your brand, where they could buy New Black History Makers.
So you can go on Instagram, of course, New Black History Makers. You can go to newblackhistorymmakers.com. We have the merch. The website is up. You can see some of the stuff that we've been doing, some of the things that we've been featured in. And then you can also, New Black History Makers, everything. So that's, you know, what the handle is. And send us stuff. Politically, we're trying to get into other cities. Or not trying to, but when elections are happening in other cities, we'll be pushing that knowledge. I know for the general election that happened in November, we did a voter guide. So I did not want to get into politics, but I'm here now. So I'm definitely, what I learn, I'm definitely pushing. So if you're in Compton too, you have another election coming up June 1st. If you need information, please hit up New Black History Makers. We're on there. There's a few interviews of people that are in the runoffs that are up now. So please go check that out. Please get out to vote. Please, if you did not vote this last election, please vote this election. So
all right, well, make sure you guys follow us at _what's good with you. Subscribe to us on YouTube. You can listen to this episode any podcast platforms we're available on. And that is it. That is all for today.
Hey, y'all keep the love and the peace. We'll see what's good with y'all next week.